Hi there, welcome to the Inside Track this week. I've got Jim Delahunt here as usual, Scottish Sun's tipster. How are you, Jim? And we spoke last week about Windsor and the Berkshire Million and how British racing really needed a 2 day meeting like this, or 3 days if you include Ascot. What was your take on
Yeah,
it? Did you enjoy it?
I did enjoy it, and we also spoke last week about the Dublin Racing Festival coming up and how much that the Irish are looking forward to those 3 days and not too long away now. And I thought it was good last week. I thought the Friday at Windsor was excellent. Ascot on Saturday was very interesting indeed, and of course, you were down at Windsor on Sunday getting a close-up look at it. What did you make of the track?
I like the track. I mean, I've been there many a time on the flat we used to go before Ascot, the Monday night before Ascot. I can tell you it's a completely different place in the depths of winter.
Yeah.
Not a leaf on the trees, and it was absolutely freezing. But I thought it was great. It was a fantastic atmosphere. There was a good crowd. The track seemed to hold up well to the racing. I mean, it's never the best viewing track at the best of times. You are reliant on the big screens, but I think the Windsor did a great job, and I think it'll definitely be back there next year.
Well, let's put our CU Jimmy hats on for a minute, Robert, and have a look at Derry Hassan Paddy. Obviously, on the Friday was impressive the way he fought back to win, and I know Lucinda Russell thinks an awful lot of that horse, and it's obviously on the up. It's been given an opening handicap mark of 134, which I thought was very interesting indeed. Just depends where they decide to go with it next. I know Lucinda's saying might not be a horse for quicker spring ground, so we'll see where she's going next after that. But again, Ahoy Senor on the Sunday. Something is not right with that horse, Robert. Definitely not.
No, I had a good look at him in the paddock and he looked fit and well. And really, I mean, the ground was probably a bit softer than ideal for him, but there's no excuses. You've got to worry now that this horse has got a bit of a hole in him. Just the way that he stopped. That's twice now he's done the same. I mean, I would imagine Lucinda and Skoo and their vets have spent this week trying to find if there's any physical issues. We've not heard of
Yeah.
anything yet. We might hear in the next week or so that they've unearthed something. Hopefully they have, because you don't want it to be a case that he's just had enough with racing. I mean, he's only 10.
Yeah.
He's not that many runs, but the last two runs really are quite alarming. I mean, the Haydock run, you could make excuses on the ground. I don't think the excuses were there on Sunday. I think
No.
everything was primed. The track should have been fine for him. He just didn't perform, and I just wonder if he's a horse that's just maybe had enough of racing. But I hope not. But something might come to light. But the Gold Cup would seem a forlorn hope now, wouldn't it? What would you do, Jim? Would you put if he does come back physically fine and whatever, would you just put him away till Aintree now and just hope that going back to his beloved Aintree on spring ground brings the miracle back and he can bounce back to some sort of form?
Yeah. I learned not to second guess Lucinda and Skew on that horse, so we'll wait and see what they decide to do. But I think I would forget about Cheltenham completely and just train him for Aintree because he could pop up at Aintree if he takes a notion on the day at Aintree, everything's well with him. Here's that track. He could well pop up at a big price. Good luck to them with it. But for the moment, I think we have to just put Ahoy Senor on the back burner. But hats off to Protectorat because Harry Skelton and Dan Skelton got the job done with Protectorat, didn't they? And I know you're going to put up a Skelton horse later for Doncaster on Saturday. I'm also going to mention Matata later when we're talking about the Champion Chase. That I thought was very impressive at Windsor at the weekend. And the one I just want to throw up before we move on from Windsor was the horse that won the bumper, Idaho's Sun. Now, I did actually manage to get onto that horse because I had a right good look at the race beforehand. I managed to decide that that was the one I was going to back, and I thought it ran a really good race. It's now 25 to 1 for the Cheltenham Champion bumper, but they've also said that it might go to Aintree, so probably a hold your bets situation there, but 25 to 1 against the Irish hordes that are coming over for Cheltenham. If it was still 25 to 1 the week before and they'd indicated that it was going to go, then that's a horse I'd be very interested in. I think the best is yet to come from Idaho Sun, but he's progressing very, very nicely indeed. And if they go to Cheltenham, Robert, I think that's got a really good chance.
You fancied dedicated hero for Sandy Thomson last week at a nice price, 6 to 1 come in at to turn over the Skelton favourite. I mean, that was an impressive performance, was it? I know people say the favourite didn't kick on round the once he got round the bend and stuff, but I thought that was a really taking performance. And where do you think Sandy will be looking at next?
Well, I was hoping to speak to him. I was working at Ayr on Monday and Tuesday, Robert, but he didn't trap Sandy on Monday or Tuesday, so I didn't see him. And Ryan Mania didn't cross my microphone as a winning jockey, so I didn't manage to get a word with him either. But they bumped dedicated hero up from up to 128, which I thought was interesting. I think the plan was always to go to Kelso for the Premier Hurdle there, and then maybe on to Aintree after that. I don't see any reason to change that plan because I suspect in the various Cheltenham races, they might just come up short. But that Premier race at Kelso is a really good race to win. And then on to Aintree after that when you've got very little to lose. I think that would be the plan there. And as I say, we managed to tip that up at 6-1. And how unlucky were we not to collect as well with I Am Max, the same Sandy Thomson, Ryan Mania combination earlier. They were just touched off. It could have been a fantastic double for us, but we'll take Dedicated Hero. That was a nice winner. And I Am Max is definitely a horse to follow going forward for the Thomson team.
One horse that looks like it'll definitely be going to Cheltenham is Lulamba. This
Yeah,
this wonder horse, for another Donnelly wonder horse that is now favourite for the Triumph after winning Ascot. I notice he's got a supreme entry as well. The Triumph would look the most likely one. I mean, the Donnellys have got so many good horses that they'll probably
yeah.
have to try and keep them apart. What did you take of his performance? And I mean, we talked about Willie Mullins dominating Cheltenham for years. Nicky Henderson's got some hand, doesn't he?
He really does have a good hand now, doesn't he? I mean, we could spin through them, but we don't have time. We'll probably pick them up as the weeks go on. But Lulamba, I wouldn't be betting against that anytime soon. That looked an absolute machine, didn't it? And that looks like their horse. Now, Palladium's an interesting one because that's the German Derby winner at Hamburg, which Nicky loosed for the first time at Huntingdon on Thursday. It won, but not impressively. Not impressively. So Palladium, I know they're hoping to run it on the flat as well. I'm sure they'll get another good hurdle prize out of it, but Lulamba seems to be the one going forward for the Triumph. And we'll wait and see how good Palladium is. I don't think he probably didn't see the best of him first time out over hurdles at Huntingdon, and it would be interesting to see him taking on some decent horses in his next race. But Lulamba, wow, I don't think I'll be betting against that anytime soon, Robert.
Well, where it goes might be determined by the Dublin Racing Festival. One tip when Salvatore Monday comes out and they get a handle on what that can do. Do
Well,
you think?
that's really the question. That's really the question, isn't it? It's interesting that Nicky is one of the trainers who will send the horse to Ireland when he feels it's got a chance. And also, I noticed this week, I think we're going to come on to the Cleve Hurdle very shortly. Indeed, it's not the Cleve Hurdle, it's International Hurdle, actually, that Willie Mullins has decided against sending Lossiemouth over to take on Constitution Hill. And he said on Thursday night, rather, that was a weather decision. So that's interesting, isn't it? He's decided not to come over because of the weather forecast, which, as we all know, is pretty horrendous for Friday. He's decided to keep Lossiemouth safely in his box. So we'll no doubt be seeing that one at the Dublin Racing Festival in a couple of weeks.
Well, it's Cheltenham on Saturday for the International Hurdle Meeting Trials Day, which the Cotswold Chase is a win for the 3 mile chasers. I mean, it doesn't look like a race that's going to shake up the Gold Cup market. I mean, we've got Gentleman's Game against L'Home Presse. I mean, one's 40-1 for the Gold Cup, one's 25-1.
Yeah.
The rest probably shouldn't be good enough, should they? I mean, is it just a watch and learn race? A
Yeah.
watch and enjoy race, really? I mean, are you going to learn much for these animals?
I'm not sure you're going to learn much about L'Home Presse or Gentleman's Game that you don't know about already, but Mouse Morris is a bit of a target trainer with these horses, and I'm sure that he's had a look at that race and thought it probably won't take too much winning. So I would expect Gentleman's Game to be primed to run for his life on Saturday. I'm not sure if I'll have a bet. I'll have a look at the prices beforehand just to see maybe the local odds makers will be making L'Home Presse the very short price favourite there. But if Gentleman's Game was a price, I might have a small bet. But I definitely a look and learn race for me, the Cotswold. But I'm glad it's on, and let's hope the weather doesn't affect them. I hope we're all going to get a really good day's racing there on Saturday.
Well, it tends on. I don't think many of us will be back in Constitution Hill either. But as
No,
you said earlier on, with Lossiemouth no there, this is a non-event. I mean, it's a public schooling event to pick up 50 grand, isn't it?
it really is. And good on Nicky Henderson. He said, what was that, a week ago? He said this horse will run at Cheltenham on Saturday. We all thought we might not see him again till the actual champion hurdle itself. But he does run on Saturday. It's little more than a schooling gallop on the form. He really has to. He has to do it, and he has to do it in style. And we'll just watch and see. I mean, we're not going to. Nobody's going to have a bet against him, and nobody's going to bet for him to win either at those prices. So we'll just have a look and see that Constitution Hill has 4 working legs, working lungs, and all as well going on to the champion hurdle.
The Cleve Hurdle's got a bit more of a competitive feel about it with Crambo, the long walk winner, against Strong Leader, who went off favourite that day but pulled up and has had a wind operation since. I mean, that looks a bit like a two-horse race as well. Is there anything else you can see in it, or are you looking at the front end of the market?
I'm definitely looking at the front end of the market. There's nothing I'm going to put up against Crambo or Strong Leader. Jonathan Burt was a jockey I spoke to at Ayr over the course of Monday and Tuesday. He had a couple of winners. He's riding at the top of his game, as we all know. He was really looking forward to Crambo. He did mention that horse when he was looking ahead to Saturday. I've got great respect for Fergal O'Brien. He was the head lad at Nigel Twiston Davis when I went to ride out there one day, and it was Fergal that organised me with a saddle and a bridle and pointed at three boxes to tell me which three horses to ride. But I've spoken to him plenty of times since. Crambo, really good stare. I think he'll take the beating. But Strong Leader, I don't know if you remember, Rob, I was really keen on this horse last time before his race at Ascot. He was so disappointing. I think Matt Chapman on the morning line or the ITV Racing morning show said that if you looked at his form, he just could not win right-handed. He could not win at Ascot, and something wasn't right that day, and it didn't happen for him. He's had a wind operation. I am more than willing to give him a second chance. He hasn't won at Cheltenham either, incidentally, but he has got some decent form there, including a close-up finish in this exact same race 12 months ago. So I'm going to give Strong Leader another chance. I'm loath to bet against Cram because he's a horse I really like, but Strong Leader, I was so confident he'd run well and win at Ascot that I've got to give him another chance. Something wasn't right that day. He was beaten far too far, almost pulled up, and I'll go for Strong Leader in the Cleeve Hurdle against Crambo on Saturday.
The 2.5 mile novice hurdle, the last race on the card, is Potter's Charm, who's been superb this season. I mean, he's unbeaten in a bumper on 4 hurdles. It's between him and the New Lion, who the best novice in Britain is. I think everybody would agree that it's between those two. I mean, you've got Bill Joyce in there, you've got Kubikwa as well for Paul Nicholls, who's a big bull of a horse.
Yeah.
Do you think
Yeah,
Potter's
On
Charm?
you go.
Do you think this is just Potter's Charm just going to run up the six win, or can you see Bill Joyce or Kubikwa or someone else coming out and giving him a scare?
I hope we get a good race, and I'll tell you why I hope we get a good race, because I hope Potter's Charm gets a good race, because this might just put the right finishing edge on him before he goes for a big one at the festival. I think he needs that. I think the Twiston Davises think this horse is really good. I totally respect their opinions. I've been very impressed visually by the horse in all these races so far. Again, wouldn't want to bet against them, Robert. That's what I would say in this race on Saturday. It's a race to have a look at. Let's see what the quality of the opposition is. If Potter's Charm does look a half decent price just before the off, it might be worth a bet. But I certainly won't be betting against Potter's Charm in that race at Cheltenham on Saturday.
We've done a lot of sitting on our hands so far. It's a informative card that could be, but not got the shape of a punting card as yet. But is there anything on the Cheltenham card? What will you be backing?
Yeah, earlier on, I'm gonna have a small bet on a Rocco. That's the Greenall Guerriero horse, which I think John Joe O'Neill Jr. will be riding. I think it's in the JP McManus colours. Fell last time. I think we have to totally forgive that. It was a first fence fall. These things happen. He's got very highly regarded Rocco. I think he's capable of winning this handicap chase over 2.5 miles off the mark that he's on. And earlier on, another Lucinda Russell horse. We were both very enthusiastic about Derry Hassan Paddy on the build up to last weekend, and he did the business. Whistle Stop Tour goes for the handicap over 2.5 miles at early on in the card. I think it's the first race on the card. Interestingly handicapped, I thought he's in against another Greenall Guerriero horse in Jaguar, which I think the punters will back off the board down there. So I think we'll get a decent price about Whistle Stop Tour. Hoping for the dead eight and hoping we can get an each way price. That's the way I'm looking at that race, Robert. What do you think?
I'd be a wee bit concerned about the step back and tip. I think the 3 miles has been the making of him. I just wonder if they've got him down there getting a bit of a city for the track with the
Yeah.
match in mind. That would be my one concern with that, because I think he is a 3 miler, and I mean they've talked about Scottish National and Grand National with him, so it
Yeah.
would just be a wee bit, as you say, it's a small each way bet, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the way I'm looking at it on Saturday, just to get it started for the day and then see how it progresses. But my main interest, of course, is at Doncaster on Saturday. That was my headline bet in the inside track column in the Scottish Sun on Thursday, and that was the horse which is called Forward Plan. It's a forward plan of mine that this horse is going to win this race. And I'm very, very hopeful. Very, very interesting jockey booking indeed, because Anthony Honeyball, the horse was second in this race last year. He was only beaten a head or a short head. This has been the plan all season to come back and win this race this time. This time he puts on a young claimer called Chad Beaumont, who in this race he is allowed to claim £10. Now the reason for that is these conditionals are allowed to claim £7 when they start off, but they can claim an extra three if they've ridden less than 5 winners and they're riding for their own stable. So it's, in my book, a cunning plan from Honeyball to put this guy on because he is very competent. He finished second on Stam Brown in the race at Market Raisin, which was rearranged from Sandown last weekend. I watched him through that race, not with a view to this one. I just watched him to have a close look at him. And I thought he rode a nice race on Sam Brown. He'll be very, very competent when it comes to this race at Doncaster on Saturday. I'm sure Honeyball will have him well tuned up as to what he has to do with forward plan. I think the horse is nicely handicapped. He'll be down to below the weight that he carried last year when he was only beaten a short head in this very race. I think he's got a really good chance forward plan. The betting reflects that, I have to say. 5-1, 11-2, 6-1 best with William Hills on Thursday night. But I still think that's a price. I think Honeyball knows what he's doing. I think the jockey will know what he's doing. And I think we might have a chance of winning there. But I know that normally it's me that goes for the Skeltons, but I think you're going for the Skeltons in this one.
Well, you're talking about people that like a plan, and there's no better than Dan Skelton at this. Snipe, who was second
Yeah,
to Egbert on this card last year. Egbert's went out and won the Tommy Whittle since. Went close to the Cumberland Chase at Carlisle
yeah.
back in November. Finished second, and he's only went up £2 for that. He's not run since, which makes me think that the Skeltons have immediately thought, right, we've got him where we want him. We'll go and win this race. It's a 50, I think it's 55,000 to the winner or something. They just keep racking up this money. He's been on an 85-day break, but he's run well fresh before. So I think Snipe at the price of 12-1 is a decent each way bet. I mean, I had another two as well. Doc picked me second to Charlie Uberallis, who we put up in the show. Only went up £2 for that the last
Yeah.
time we were course and distance. He was 25-1, worth a second look each way. And the Changing Man, who was narrowly beaten by Victorino Ascot after leading at the last. But I think going through the three of them, I think Snipe is probably the most attractive one, simply because of his mark and because of the who trains him. They've always got a plan on the go, and when they've kept a horse off for 85 days after a lovely comeback couple of runs, you think they've been thinking about this for a while.
And the good news for Harry Skelton is it was down to carry 10 stone 2, but the weights have gone up £11, so he's comfortably going to have a nice big saddle at 10 stone 13. And I think you're right, Snipe is going to be there or thereabouts. I'm kind of banking on the fact that forward plan will reverse that previous Doncaster form with Charlie Uberallis. I think he will, with the greatest respect to Diane Sayre's horse. So I'm going with forward plan. You're going with Snipe. I think we'll both be disappointed if we're not in the first 3 or 4.
Oh, definitely. There's a nice mare's hurdle on the race, which looks like a two-horse race, to be perfectly honest. But we've got Katira for the Skeltons, who ran in the long walk that we were talking about, Crambo's race earlier on, and Jetara, who's over for Jesse Harrington from Ireland. Have you had a look at that, and what do you think the 1-2 will be there?
Yeah, it's not quite a watch your bets, Katira, Jatara. I think we can all work out which one's which. Jesse Harrington's horse is wearing cheek pieces for the first time. I think that's an interesting move from her. I think she's got young James Bowen to ride it as well. So I'll be siding with Jatara. I don't think either of us are going to get huge prices if we're on Jatara or Katira in this particular race. But it's one that Jatara is probably on all known form in Ireland, more than capable of winning. And I think that's the reason I'm coming down on the side of that one.
Well, the countdown to Cheltenham has really started now. We're into 7-8 weeks. Uh, So we'll have a look at the champion chase. I think, Jim, you took on Jonbon last week,
Yeah.
as you like to do with an Ergymane. He was well beat fair and square. He's now 11-10, 5-4 for the champion chase. He looks rock solid. Have you seen the light? Are you going to stop taking him on? Are you going to jump on the train?
I'm not suggesting take him on, and I'm not jumping on the train either because he's got so much to prove at Cheltenham. But no, let's be honest about it. That was a tremendous performance last week, and he's head and shoulders above everything else at the moment. And he's quite rightly 11-10 favourite. Interestingly for me, the second favourite at the moment, top price 3-1 with Paddy Power, is Gallic Warrior. And of course, Willie Mullins had a media day for the Dublin Racing Festival this week. And when he had his big huddle with the press, Gallic Warrior seemed to be the one that he wanted to talk about. And I think that's very interesting indeed, given the fact that he has El Fabiolo in the race as well. So interesting that Gallic Warrior seems to be the one that Willie's punting as his best chance of beating Jonbon. He still has Energumene in there as well. And I think they'd be very hopeful about that horse if it came up heavy. But we all know that that's once in a blue moon that it comes up heavy at the Cheltenham Festival these days. So Gallic Warrior appears to be the one for Willie. I thought it was interesting this week. Jamie Codd, who's the top amateur in Ireland, I would say, and one of the top amateurs in the whole British Isles, he's putting up Liberty Hunter, which is an interesting one given it's trained by Evan Williams in Wales. But Jamie Codd seems very interested in Liberty Hunter each way at around 33 to 1 for the champion chase. And I did allude to this earlier. Matata, I thought, was quite impressive at Windsor last weekend. Nigel Twiston-Davies said afterwards he's not suddenly improved £10. Well, I've just got a hunch that he might have improved £5 or £6, and that would bring him into the reckoning for the champion chase. He's a 40 to 1 chance, and they've said that it is going to run. So I think a small anti-post each way on Matata at 40 to 1 might look quite good come the day. And that's me not suggesting that he'll go and beat Jonbon.
I don't understand why people crib Jonbon so much. I mean, is it just the fact that he's not won a festival race? I mean, he's been beaten by Constitution Hill and El Fabiolo. I mean, it's not as
Yeah.
if he's been beaten by two duds. I mean, I just find he's a bit. I think people are coming round to love him now. I think people are desperate to pick holes in him, but Gaelic Warrior's the only one that can beat him. Unless El Fabiolo comes back at the Dublin Racing Festival and wows
Yeah.
him, surely Gaelic Warrior's the only one that can beat him, barring a
Certainly.
mishap.
Yeah, the way it's looking at the moment, it's Jonbon's race to lose, isn't it? And you say he's a horse that hasn't been loved. He hasn't done it at Cheltenham yet, but he's got every chance of doing it. I have to say, in my defence, last week it was more that I was keen on Energumene than against Jonbon. In the past, I've been more trying to beat Jonbon, but I really did think Energumene had a really good chance last week. But maybe he does need much softer ground to get competitive at the top level, as he's proven in the past. And he didn't get that at Ascot last weekend. So Jonbon's there to be shot at. I'm only putting up one each way at a price at the moment. And I think it was a good race just to have a wee look at before the festival. And I think we're going to have a wee look at a race every week from now on the build-up, Robert.
Yeah, I think we will. I mean, I had a look at the prices. I mean, Ile Francais is in the champion chase betting. Surely that doesn't go.
Yeah, Ely Francais 8 to 1 top price. I wouldn't have thought that's a champion chase prospect, so I think we'll be leaving that one out of calculations. 10 to 1 in Ergumene if it turns up heavy. 12 to 1 El Fabiolo when the Mullins fancy Gallic Warrior. So you're really looking at a two-horse race at the moment, as you suggested. And I'm putting up Matata at a huge price because I think it might improve even further.
Is Solness maybe one of the ones that could be a dark horse? I mean, I know he's been beat by Jonbon already at Sandown, but that win at Leopardstown over Christmas, although he was given a fairly soft lead, they let him run
Yeah,
wide and they gave him a soft lead and couldn't catch him on that foggy day for what we were able to see on that foggy day. But I mean, I think you're really playing for this is a place market race, isn't it? You just let
it
Jonbon
really is.
win and try and find something at a price to finish second or third to him.
It really is at the moment. I mean, you know how much a fan I am of Joseph O'Brien, given my keenness for Banbridge in the King George, and you wouldn't rule out Solness if it did line up on the day. But I think he has to batter his way into that top two or top three in the betting at the moment, and it's looking a two-horse race, and I think we are playing for places with the big outsiders.
Thanks very much, Jim. That's great. Best of luck with your bets this weekend, folks.
Looking forward to the weekend. Speak to you soon.
Cheers. Goodbye.